Denied boarding on a first-class flight because of her appearance. A black woman calmly reveals she's the CEO's wife. What begins as a humiliating misunderstanding soon escalates into a powerful confrontation, forcing the airline to confront its biases and sparking a movement for change that no one saw coming. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share with your friends, and comment below where you're watching from. The airport buzzed with the usual chaos, announcements echoing through the terminal, hurried footsteps tapping against the polished floors, and the low hum of conversations blending into a steady background noise. Naomi Bennett stood calmly amidst the commotion, pulling her carry-on suitcase behind her. She adjusted the strap of her leather tote and smoothed her sweater, her mind focused on the tasks awaiting her in London. The line for first-class boarding was short, and Naomi, dressed for comfort in jeans and sneakers, moved forward. Her casual attire belied her importance, but that had never mattered to her. Her success wasn't written in designer logos or flashy displays. Still, she had learned that not everyone saw it that way. As she reached the gate, the agent, Lisa, barely glanced at her before speaking. "Ticket, please," Lisa said curtly, her tone flat and disinterested. Naomi handed over her boarding pass with a polite smile, but Lisa's eyes darted from the ticket to Naomi's face, then down to her clothes. A flicker of something, suspicion or doubt, crossed Lisa's face before her lips tightened into a thin line. "I'm going to need you to step aside for a moment," Lisa said, her voice sharper now. Naomi frowned. "Is there a problem?" she asked, her tone calm but edged with curiosity. Lisa's eyes lingered on Naomi, assessing her. "I just need to verify your ticket," she said, already turning to her computer. Her voice had taken on a rehearsed neutrality that felt anything but genuine. Naomi felt the familiar prickle of frustration. She'd been in situations like this before. Her years of navigating spaces where she was underestimated or doubted had taught her to stay composed. Taking a steadying breath, she stepped aside and waited. Passengers shuffled past Naomi, some sneaking curious glances her way. The murmur of voices carried snippets of disbelief and judgment. She caught fragments of their conversations. Is she really in first class? And must be a mix-up. The minutes stretched unbearably long before an older man in a crisp uniform approached. His name tag read Carl, and his posture radiated authority. Lisa gestured toward Naomi and began whispering to him. Though the words were indistinct, the implication was clear. Naomi didn't fit their image of a first-class passenger. Carl turned to Naomi, his face impassive. "Ma'am, this is a first-class ticket. Are you certain it belongs to you?" he asked, his tone polite but patronizing. Naomi's patience began to fray. "Yes," she replied, her voice steady. "I purchased this ticket. Is there a specific issue?" Carl hesitated, but before he could respond, Lisa interjected. "She just doesn't seem." Her voice trailed off, leaving her insinuation hanging in the air. Naomi's eyes narrowed. "Doesn't seem what?" she asked sharply. Lisa flushed but said nothing, retreating slightly under Naomi's gaze. Naomi sighed and pulled out her phone. If they doubted her ticket, she would let someone they couldn't ignore handle it. Richard Bennett answered on the first ring. "Naomi, is everything okay?" he asked, his voice warm but laced with concern. "Not really," Naomi replied. "I'm standing at the gate, and they're questioning whether I belong in first class. Apparently, I don't look the part." There was a pause before Richard's tone hardened. "Stay where you are. I'll handle it." Within minutes, Richard appeared at the gate, his commanding presence silencing the chatter around him. He walked directly to Naomi, his expression unreadable, but his jaw set with determination. "Naomi," he said, his voice softening as he addressed her. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," she replied, her gaze flicking toward Lisa and Carl. "But we need to talk about how your staff treats passengers." Richard turned his attention to Lisa and Carl, his expression icy. "What's the issue here?" Lisa stammered, her confidence evaporating under his scrutiny. "Sir, we just wanted to confirm." "You wanted to confirm that my wife belongs in first class?" Richard interrupted, his voice razor-sharp. "Do you question every passenger like this, or just the ones who don't fit your assumptions?" Carl's face turned pale. "It was a misunderstanding, sir," he said quickly. "We meant no harm." "Harm has already been done," Naomi interjected, her tone measured but firm. "This isn't just about me. It's about how many others you've treated the same way." Richard didn't hesitate. "Lisa, you're being reassigned immediately. Carl, you will oversee mandatory sensitivity training for all customer-facing staff. I want a full report on how we'll ensure this doesn't happen again." Lisa's eyes widened, and she opened her mouth to protest, but Naomi's voice cut through. "This isn't about punishing you. It's about learning and doing better. Change starts with accountability." Passengers nearby began clapping softly, their murmurs turning to words of support. Lisa looked away, visibly shaken but silent. As Naomi settled into her first-class seat, she felt a mixture of exhaustion and determination. The incident was over, but the work was just beginning. Richard leaned over, squeezing her hand. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that," he said quietly. Naomi shook her head. "This happens to people every day. Not everyone has someone like you to back them up. We need to make real changes, Richard." He nodded. "And we will." True to his word, the airline issued a public apology and announced comprehensive reforms. Naomi, inspired by the overwhelming support she received, began drafting a new initiative to tackle bias in the travel industry. This wasn't just her fight anymore, it was a movement. By the time her plane landed in London, Naomi's story had gone viral. Messages poured in from strangers sharing their own experiences of bias and discrimination. Her social media lit up with discussions, hashtags, and calls for systemic change. As she walked through the airport, Naomi felt a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something much bigger. And she was ready to lead the charge. Have you ever been underestimated or judged unfairly? Your story matters. Let's work together to build a world where everyone belongs. Share your thoughts about the story in the comment section below. Subscribe to our channel for soul-stirring stories.